It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 6, Episode 25, our season finale. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
The season finale. Season, not series, season. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you? Finale. Finale.
Kind of has a French feel to it.
It could. It could be a little Italian. Could be, the finale. I don't know if that's really what French people do, but, you know, growing up in the 70s and early 80s, that's how they always did it, so I don't know.
That's right.
That's right.
You grow up on Bugs Bunny cartoons, that's what they sound like.
Right, and if you're Foster's home for wayward, I don't know, whatever, the blue, he goes, I have the ear on the side of my head. If Foster's home for imaginary friends or something like that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I love that episode. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know, man. I don't know where it comes from, but no matter what language, it is the end.
It is the end.
Of something.
It is the end. Is this the end?
Not the end of for good, just the end for a bit.
Just the end for a bit. But we're going to be apparently sliding into another show.
Yeah.
For the summer series.
Yes.
Dude, we're like a cable station. You know what I mean? We have major fall and spring programming, and now we've moved into summer programming. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Soon
amazing.
We're going to have our own station. Other people will be doing it for us.
It's amazing what you could do with a soundboard and a computer.
That's it, man.
And a lot of free time.
That's it. Just go to Spotify and just look on all the crap that's on there. That'll tell you exactly what people are doing with boards, laptops, and a microphone.
That's right. Everybody's got a show. Everybody has something to say. Anyway, listen, you know, here we are. We're at the end of Season 6. I mean, dude, this season for me just flew by. It really did.
This one did fly by. This one really did fly by.
I remember looking at the list before we started the season, and I'm like, oh, my God. There's so many topics to cover. Like, I was actually intimidated. It's like, oh, man, this is going to be a brutal amount of work. And then here we are. We're at the end of it. I mean, it's just crazy. That's the thing about time. It's just flying by. And, you know, when you and I talk about, like, the old days in the 80s and sleeping on mattresses and whatever, and it's like... It's some of that, it just seems like, oh my God, just wasn't that like yesterday? And then here we are, you know, 40 years later, 40 plus years. It's just crazy. Really, 9-10 months of a show. I mean, what's that? That's just a beep.
That's right. That's right. Just a hot cup of coffee, man, honestly. I mean, you know, the one thing about this season, and we had said it, you know, the press release had said it when, you know, when we started Season 6, you know, we did say it was going to be a little bit darker, a little bit moodier, because, you know, when you and I started Season 6, we were both going through some, you know, heavy stuff with our careers and, you know, stuff like that. You know, I mean, honestly, it's kind of fed into the rest of the year. I mean, you've had some really great shows, but, you know, you even said it yourself, like neither of us really, well, me less than you, but we really didn't play as heavily as we had been in the past. You know, it's this season is darker because that's kind of where our careers, our musical life is right now at this moment.
Yeah. I also think that where we're at in time in this industry is a bit of the culmination of the effects or the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. Listen, there are things that are felt immediately when something happens, and then there's the after effect, the shock wave, right? And then there's that ripple effect that happens on the perimeter later on. Ground zero is one thing, but then several miles away, you know, as time goes, you feel the effects. And I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what's happening here in a way, like both with the mentality of artists as well as, the business end for the venues and such, because you would think that 4 years following the pandemic, like, we're back on track. Well, no, venues are still closing. Just 2 weeks ago, a venue here in our area, one night they were open, next night they just abruptly closed. And no reason. They didn't give no reason. I'm sure there was some reason, and it's probably finances. And there's another place that closed. I mean, this year alone, the second half of this season, there's 4 venues that have disappeared that we would play at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, too, because I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were supposed to go see his band at that club a couple days before it closed. Me and my wife had plans to go, and I had been talking to a friend of mine because he came out to see my band, and I was super excited to see his band because they hadn't played in a number of years. And then I guess it was that. So if that show was on a Saturday, I guess it was like the Thursday before. I guess it was about a week and a half before he's supposed to play. I saw that in my Facebook, I'm like, oh, the event got canceled. That's weird. And then I saw his post about the club, and the club had just abruptly closed overnight. I mean, they had shows coming up, and it's insane, man. It's so crazy.
That's what the headline said, too. Local venue abruptly closes. So first I thought, was there an accident or something of that nature? But no, it was just, I guess, an internal thing. I mean, several iconic places in the Philadelphia area no longer. There are a couple of them had some other issues that caused them to close, some legal issues and things like that. But I think that most of these places, it's a finance type of thing. You can only carry the load so long without having some assistance to kind of lessen it. Right? You can juggle as long as you can. Sooner or later, you're going to miss one, and it's unfortunate. And, you're seeing some of these other venues that were resold and are kind of retooled under new management and all, and they're still trying to keep some of the metal nights, and the same thing's happening, like nobody's coming out, and it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, man, it's just it's a sad thing, bro. I don't really know what it is. I mean, obviously the need for live music maybe not as important in people's lives anymore in terms of, the kind of places that you and I play and our friends play. It is expensive to go out, so people are picking and choosing what they're doing. And, of course, the clubs, bars, whatever, and bands, we're all kind of suffering.
We really are.
We really are. It's crazy to me.
But here's the thing. While I've been seeing some of these national tours that come through, and I'm not saying like ones at the big arenas or type of Spectrum places. I'm talking about even some of the mid-size venues. I am seeing that they are packing up. Like, a band comes through. Maybe this is the first time they've been around in a couple years. Yeah. Those places are selling out because I think, like we talked about before, people are going, I may not have a chance to see them again. That type of thing. But for all the local levels, it just isn't happening. It just isn't happening. I was watching some video of some bands that, I kind of follow, local bands that I follow on social media, and they're playing their heart out, and there's nobody there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, they're booking shows, but they're booking shows that nobody's coming to, and I don't believe it's the band's fault. These are decent bands. Listen, I played a show with an out-of-state band that came into the state, which was even further for us. It was way out of our normal music scene. I think that they just expected that they were going to have a huge turnout, and maybe they misstepped in their promotional efforts, just assuming that, I'm coming in, people are going to be there. It doesn't work like that. Like, it's not just the support bands that have to do the promotional piece. Because if that's the case, you shouldn't be touring based on your name. Yeah. Yeah. Because support bands jump on these shows because of the name brand that's associated with it. That's part of the power, right? You're trying to get recognition. Like, people went out on tour with Kiss because it was Kiss. Right. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Rush. I mean, go down the list. Yeah. Everybody and their mother went out with Kiss in those early days because it made an impact. Yeah. Yeah. So support bands are just that. They're supporting that top band or whatever to assist in the night.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, if it was name alone, then why don't they just play a 3-hour set? Because most bands can't.
Right.
And most fans don't even want to hear that.
No.
Right? I mean, legacy bands, I mean, again, look, when we seen Kiss, what they play, 2.5 hours, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
But you're talking about they're going out big time, and they have a catalog that could do that.
Right.
Judas Priest plays about 2 hours, you know, a Maiden plays about 2 hours, you know, so on and so forth. But you're talking about a whole different beast.
Yeah.
But if you and they're playing large venues, 22,000 people, so on and so forth. Okay, different beast. You can't compare the two. But that's the problem. Some of these bands think that that's who they are, and they're not. It almost goes back to our episode Big Fish in a Little Pond, where we were kind of talking about more of the local bands that kind of get into this mentality. For some, it's ego, and for some, it's survival. But I guess at the end of the day, if you put the two together, it's still ego. At some level, it's some type of ego. Rather than working together, they're working by themselves, and things aren't getting accomplished the way they hope, or they, you know.
Right.
My singer for that show was chatting with some of the guys, and they were disappointed in the turnout. Well, what did you expect?
Right.
You didn't do your due diligence, I guess. You know, especially if you're the head. This is another reason why I'm not a big fan of being a headline band, unless you already have something established. Such so that it speaks for itself before you enter the room. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes.
Like I said, Kiss could be gone for the next 5 years, and all of a sudden, at 80, they're going, we're going on tour, and we're going to do just 7 shows. Them 7 shows would sell out. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So their name or brand speaks for themselves long before anything else. For me, and, you know, I'm not going to say you because you are a much bigger star, but for me, it don't work like that.
Oh, stop.
I'm going to be, you know what? I'm happy to be a good support band. There are so many bands that have done that, big name bands that have done that throughout their career, and they constantly work, right?
Man.
There's that Michael Caine theory about acting. One, you say 3 words at a time. That's how you memorize your line, and you take every role that's given to you, and you do the best that you can with it. Because at the end of the day, you're getting a paycheck, and you're constantly working. So that when you're ready to retire and disappear, it's okay. You've done all you can. These other guys, they limit their roles, and then they don't get any roles for years.
Yeah. You know, in my former band, you know, when there was a name attached to it, I always was like, you know, when we'd have conversations about shows, I'd always go, I don't mind being a support. Like, I don't mind being direct support, because there's pressure being direct support, because you hope to bring people and you hope it's a good night. But I am totally okay with just taking half and not all of it. Like, I work my ass off for the half. I mean, I'll work my ass off for, you know, being the headliner too. But I always was like, nah, let's be direct support. I am totally okay with that. I don't need to be the headliner, whatever, however you want to, you know, whatever you want to call it, because it's a little less pressure to worrying about people wise if you're not really the headliner.
Absolutely, yeah. I have been the headliner on a number of shows, right? Especially some of our overseas shows. Some of them have been great. Some of them have been like, It's like a 50-50 thing. I mean, some of them we've been surprised at, and others we haven't been surprised. Like, well, we told you this is what we, you know, because we usually request it, right? But there's a difference between being a headliner. This is going to get me in trouble. At a real show, they're all real shows. I get it, because we're living, we're breathing, we're playing. I get it. But there's a difference in shows. When you're just playing a local show, and these guys want a headline, you know what headline means anymore? It means you're closing the night, you're mopping up, and usually there's less people there. I was just going over some stuff in my head. Like, locally now, they don't have bands playing at 1 a.m. like they used to.
No.
They're trying to close out bands anywhere between 11 and 12 o'clock now, because they've finally realized that nobody stays.
Nope.
Nobody stays. The local watering hole is different than the place that has bands playing. People don't want to hear bands till 2 a.m. They want to drink, get drunk, and forget their problems. I get it. Not my way, but hey, listen, to each his own. But people have been pushing earlier shows, finishing by 10. I've literally been at places now because the sound ordinance is becoming more and more of a problem for some of these venues.
Yeah.
So we're finishing shows by 10, 10:30, which, listen, I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I'm all into that. I'm all into that.
I mean, when a band's going on at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, it's like, man, who's there? Nobody. Nobody's there.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
It's true, man. It's true. It's true.
And some of these bands, they're rolling in as headliners as if they were playing the Spectrum with all this equipment and every band for themselves. It's like, well, you're not. You're just making changeover longer. And so by that time, they're going on at 11:15, 11 o'clock. And the crowd's diminishing, man. They're diminishing. People are, ears give out. Right? Even like as studio engineers, they tell you got to get after a certain point, you have to take a break. Your ears will not hear the sound the right way, and then you may make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you have to take a break, go back, take a break, go back. It is what it is.
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
This is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmic Voice.
It's funny. We used to play this this place in Brooklyn. By the way, just closed. A huge club in Brooklyn, huge name. Plenty of acts have gone through there. For years, we played there, literally in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And, people be hanging outside and people be smoking or being loud, whatever. And then some of the last few times we played there, the promoter would be like, listen, we got to be out of here by midnight. And I'm like, I am totally okay with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going on at 11, be done by midnight? Hell yeah. Like, I am in. And guess what? They recently, another really killer venue, and this is Brooklyn, New York, a great metal club, and they just closed within, past few weeks of recording this. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It is. And it's a shame. It just makes it harder. But sometimes for you to move forward or to change to happen or new things to happen, you got to get rid of the old. Out with the old, in with the new. Yeah. So hopefully some new energy, some new guns kind of take to the scene, and, you see what happens. I mean, but for us, for the bands, I mean, we have two choices. We either stop or we just keep pressing forward and kind of deal with what's happening, but get smart about it. And like you were saying at the top of this, we are playing less shows for a lot of reasons. One, not a lot of places to play. Two, there's no sense of just doing a show to do a show. Maybe there is if you're just trying to work out some kinks or a new member or whatever. And we do that too. Hey, you know what? Let's book a show. Let's work this out. Like we did a show, and I know that they went through a list of bands, and we weren't anywhere on that list to play the show. But we took it as advantage because, again, it was an early show, and we got a chance to work out some stuff for the set. And it wound up being a pretty good show. Like, it was a show that we didn't put a lot of, I shouldn't say not a lot of thought. It's like, because we think about every show, and we'll play the same show regardless of where we're at. Again, us being live bands, we talked about that before we went on air, that we grew up in a time where recording wasn't as accessible, it wasn't affordable, and it wasn't something you thought about. We honed our live playing, right? That's what we did. We played live.
Yeah.
Like, no matter where we're at, we do the same show.
You guys approached it as, we'll do the show. If it's good, awesome. If it's not, oh well.
Right, exactly. And but we still given what we do. But yeah, we worked out some stuff, and it was like, oh, this is great. But it wound up being a pretty good show, and I was excited about it. We had more fun than I think that we expected.
They're usually the best shows.
Yeah, you kind of go in there. It was a good time. The shows where you put a little bit more stock in, you're kind of often disappointed. Maybe, and I talked about this on the other show about like the one show that we did where the headliner kind of was disappointed, but they didn't even bring merch in. That goes to show you how much they weren't even considering. They just figured they were going to just rock the night with attendance. But we sold out on the merch table.
Right.
And which was, again, here's something, didn't expect that, didn't plan that, but we had it there, and I was super excited, which kind of then benefited us in the long run because of, it was a good show. Our set had a really good attendance, and then it dwindled after that, but it should have been better by what we were sold on,
expecting.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the importance of merch actually not just balanced it out, it made it way better for us.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, because those agreements change in the course of while people are loading up their vehicles and trying to get out of Dodge as fast as you can. We were in Germany and the deal changed. All of a sudden, the guy couldn't speak English anymore. And we said, "You're not going to speak English now?" All of a sudden, you can't speak English, and he just looked at us. But that's what happens, people. That's what happens.
Yeah, man. You know, that's how this season went. You know, it's very dark. You know, dark is in like subject. You know, dark just because of the scene, the industry right now. Again, like I said, when we both started this, you and I were both going through some major things in our bands. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. A lot of self-reflecting, a lot of like, hey, what am I going to do here? And I'll be the first to say, I mean, at times, you know, especially when we started the season, things on the inside here looked bleak. They really did. I mean, I was like, you know, what am I going to do? I'm not exactly sure. We had personnel changes. We had label changes. We're dealing with being a band that's over the 10-year mark. And the thing is, your numbers could be whatever they are, and we talked about this before. Nowadays, they're so damn inflated, you're not sure what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I hate social media, so it's like over the course of this season, I've done less on social media than I have in past years.
Yeah.
Because I'm just tired of it. It doesn't make a difference. It's not making us play better. It's not making us play worse. It's not making me write better songs, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the way I look at it is like, you want to put me on the chopping block, put me on stage, and I'll show you. If I fall flat on my face, then you're 100% right. You didn't lose anything. Because chances are you're not paying me anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like I told that guy last summer. Like, you're not happy about this? We'll pack up and go. Then your whole night's shot. I go, or we're already here ready to go. We'll play for you. You're not paying us anyway, so what difference does it make? We're the ones now taking the shot, not you, man. Not you.
That's right. That's right. And if anything, we're going to be spending money because we're going to drink. So you're not losing, you're gaining.
We already put the time and effort in. We came through on our obligation. You didn't because you didn't have a sound guy. We weren't even sure you had a door guy. You did no promotion for it. So then what did you expect? What did you expect to happen? It was the band's fault. Okay, well then we'll leave. That's okay, because it's early enough. I'm going to take my guys. We're going to go sit down to a nice restaurant. I'll be in bed. I'll be sleeping before you even think about closing up your place.
That's right. That's
you
right.
Know what I mean?
100%.
And I'll mark this up as a vacation. I don't care, because I still got 2 more gigs on this. It's like, come on, man.
That's right. We're already out here, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like another gig. It's like we're driving
That's right. But like I said, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of retooling, and I talked about changing the model and things like that, and I definitely have a much better view on where I want to go now, what I want to do. I got a number of projects in the works. I know you do as well. And, you know, part of this is it's overcoming these challenges which build the character of your band, of what the integrity is, right, of the members, of the music, because that all kind of shines through. Like I said, you hit this obstacle and then you go, oh, that's it, I'm done. And a lot of people did. COVID knocked a lot of bands out. They were like, oh, I can't play anymore. Listen, I was just as bummed as everybody else. We can't play out anymore? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
And like I told you, like when we got back from the UK after COVID hit here in the States and everything closed down, we spent a couple weeks like, what are we going to do? We weren't, I mean, just like everybody else. And finally I said to everybody, and I've said this time and time again, and I have to repeat it to myself, let's not look at what we can't do. Let's look at what we can do. There's things that we can do. So let's do them. And that's what I've been doing. Okay, we lost a member. What can we do? Well, my new EP is out. It's doing pretty well. I'm very excited about it. Well, for us, you know what I mean? I'm not comparing it to Metallica or anything like that. Even though, listen, I'd be a great Metallica opening band. I don't care what anybody says. That's the way I look at it, because I'd get up there.
That gig in a heartbeat.
I take that gig in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Listen, they want you to play out of these. Okay, all right. You can't get. All right, that's all right. You got 20 seconds. Okay, I'll do it. You know, whatever.
That would be the 12 o'clock slot that I definitely would take.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You got to go in at 1 a.m. All right, sounds good.
That's okay, all right.
Because if I can stack my name under Metallica's, then I've done really well. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so the new EP, right? During the time, we lost a bass player. We were picking up another bass player, which was a transitional bass player, got another bass player. The thing is we're still recording on the new EP, and I was just talking about this at an interview. We have several bass players appearing on the EP. They all get credit. Our original bass player's on there for some of the stuff he did. The new bass player we have right now, he did some stuff on there. We brought a studio bass player in who worked with Gene Simmons back in the 90s. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Plus, I got to work in a real big studio. Great guy. Yeah. I'm actually playing bass on several of the songs as well. And the studio bass player we're playing, and this is how you should work in the studio. He's playing, and I'm there the whole time we're working on it. And literally, he's having a problem with one of the sections, right? I'm showing him, and he's trying it. Finally, he goes to me. He takes the bass off, and he goes, here, you play it.
Yeah.
And I go, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, let's just get this done. It's about getting... I go, okay. So I have a right-handed bass on, because I'm left-handed. I'm playing it upside down. And I go, okay, just roll that tape back. Just give me a couple seconds so I can roll into it to punch in. And one take, boom. One take because I knew the song. That's all.
Yeah.
Not that I'm the greatest bass player. You can't even tell the difference. It's not like I got to go, oh, there I am. There I am. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even...
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I've played bass on my recordings for the last 14 years, most of the time uncredited. Like, I've done what Paul Stanley's done. Like, I've fixed up bass parts. I've fixed up other parts. I've done this. I've done that. This is what we do because it's about the song, not about me. But believe it or not, early on, worried about that. Oh, my God, we got all these different bass players. Like, what are people going to think? Like, we can't get our act together? Then I thought, you know what? This is amazing. The fact that I get to work with a bunch of different people, and I got to work in a couple different studios with different engineers and not just me. That was the beauty. I wasn't the engineer at that studio. We brought in a separate guy because I just wanted to be able to play and produce. And I was like, oh, man, this is so much easier. I just got to say, do this, do that. I don't have to worry about moving this, moving that, and going. And somebody goes, that ain't right. Can you fix it? And you're like, oh, man. This was just easy. It's like, hey, can you bring up that level? Touch this, smell that, look at this. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It was like, now I know why everybody wants to be a big-time producer.
Exactly.
You don't have to know anything. You just kind of go, do this, do that. What do you think? Oh, man. And because of that, we talked about this too in another episode, because of some of the downtime that we were having with the EP as we were working in different bass players and stuff, I got involved in a couple other projects that hopefully this summer I'm going to be able to announce, which I'm kind of excited about. Do I have a better outlook? Yeah. It took me a bit to work through it, and this show helped. I'm telling you, Chris, the show helps. This is therapy for me, man. Because
1,000%, dude.
I totally go back, agree. I listen to the episode, I edit them and all, and I go, man, I got to try that. I got to try that. You know what I mean? Or I got to be reminded of it. Or sometimes, because you and I are bantering back and forth, you're not aware of what's happening because it's not scripted.
Right.
I used to put notes together. I don't do notes as much that time because our time is even less than it was. Like during COVID, it was a little easier because there was a lot of downtime where I wasn't doing anything. But once we got back to work, so I try to do some mental notes, but a lot of this is to keep it fresh. And we've talked about this too. The banter's right then and there. So when you get to hear it back, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that. We mentioned this. And
definitely.
Learning from each other's experiences is just amazing. And sometimes when we're having shared experiences, and I'm getting your perspective from the same thing that I experienced is good too. So this has been a good season in that regard. It was cheaper than me actually having to go get therapy or taking any medication. So, and I don't drink, so I mean, which I over the years said maybe I should have picked that habit up, but.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
No, man, it's definitely true. Sometimes, we turn on the mics and I'd be like, I just had this, week with the same thing as you were going through, lost members or whatever the case may be. And, you get on the mic and we're talking, we're laughing and, we're joking around about it. By the end of the recording, I'm kind of like, I feel better about the situation. The situation hasn't changed, but I have a different outlook,
Right.
or maybe I feel a little better about it, or maybe I just have a little more confidence in getting through it, because we've kind of sat here and talked about it, or we joked about it, whatever the case may be. And you have a different outlook on it, which helps you get through that next step.
I totally agree. It really does. It doesn't necessarily change the problem, but like you said, it changes your perspective, and you're like, you know what, maybe it's not so bad, or, okay, I can get through this, and there's worse things. I have to keep reminding myself, like, there's worse things in life than, somebody not hearing your song, or, oh, I didn't get that gig, or, I mean, as much as it's a key point to my life, and I'm so passionate about it, there's other real world problems that are going on. And I have to remind myself that, I am blessed that I am able to do this in any capacity.
Yeah.
Still after all these years. So it does help. And if I can say, you and I got to see KK's band, and we're watching him in the pit, thanks to you. You got me in there. And I turned to you and I said, this is why we do this. You can see the energy on the stage. These guys, they were like kids.
Yeah.
There was a rebirth of both, for Ripper and for KK, at least from my view. And, again, KK's my all-time favorite guitar player. And the band was unbelievable. I'm down there in the pit with great friends, and you're enjoying music, and the crowd's going crazy. It was just amazing. And when I turned to you, I was literally like, I had chills, and I was like,
yep.
And I didn't even know if you wanted to hear it. I go, this is why we do this. I mean,
no, it's true, bro.
And we just did that show that morning.
We really did.
Like, why be in a band?
Really
and it's like, this is why. This is why.
Yeah.
My wife, she said, it is so different. The intensity,
different.
And it just changes everything.
Everything.
And I go, yeah. I go, so you can understand why these guys do it, and they're on stage.
100%.
And yes, it is the crowd. I get it, especially for that level of performance. But there's the music. And you could see how those guys were clicking, too. That bass player was just, he was having, he was having the time of his life. And it was just unbelievable. Yeah. You felt that. Yeah. It was just an amazing night. And it reminds you of why you're doing this. It's inspiring.
Yep. You
got to look at it, too, that even though you're a local or regional band, you're doing that for somebody else, too. It could be one person. You know, I had to tell a band member one time years ago, because he had said some things to some people, and I think there was off-putting. And I said, listen, man, I said, you got to understand, even though you and I look at each other like we're two bozos from the borough, and this is just something that we're doing, they're looking at us completely differently. This is the first time they're seeing you in person, talking to you. They see you online, they're looking at you at a different perspective. And I realize online it means nothing. But there are people that believe that. Like, oh my God, because they're not doing it. Or they see you linked up. I mean, the thing with social media is it puts you what looks like a level with all your favorite big-time guys. Because you're out there, you're seeing it, it's coming up in their feed, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Whether it's real or not, there's people's interpretation of it. And you have to respect that as much as you can. Because you could be inspiring somebody else.
That's right.
To do the slightest thing.
Going back to the KK's pre-show, the one thing you said to me that really struck a chord with me, and obviously you were saying that this is why we do it, and that is 100%. I think the one thing that really struck a chord with me that you had leaned over and said to me was, like, it's really cool to see Ripper, like, his entire circle. And that's inspiring too, right? Because, like, dude went from playing clubs in a Judas Priest tribute band to getting the Judas Priest gig to losing that gig, going back to clubs, like small clubs, super small clubs that you and I play.
I opened for Ripper several times at some of these, small clubs where I would I played just locally with other local bands. So, they need to do a movie on that.
You know? And then gets the gig with his old guitar player, and now they're back playing bigger places, festivals. Like, talk about a really inspiring story. Guy that was nobody became somebody, then kind of went down to a little lower of a level somebody, and now he's kind of back on top, pretty much.
you could see it with him, his aura that he was having on stage. I mean, listen, if you've ever seen Ripper live and up close, he's an amazing singer. Like, he doesn't even break a sweat.
Amazing.
He doesn't even break a sweat.
He really does it, man. He does it.
Yeah.
He really
his
does it.
His voice does not give out at all.
Nope.
And it's amazing. Every time I've seen him or played with him, it's just, I can't even explain it. The guy, it's like he's a machine. But what he was radiating, like, you could tell, like, he knew that this was something so special. And the crowd knew it. The crowd knew it. You could tell he was super appreciative. We seen 100%. The last night of the... Now, you've seen a couple of the shows. The one we were together, it was the last night of that U.S. tour.
Yeah.
There was just something magical about it, I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into something, but...
because that was the vibe, man. That's the vibe they had on stage. It was the vibe. You know, I'd seen them 2 nights before you and I saw them. Same thing, same energy, same attitude, same swagger, you know, that he has, and he's one of those singers, and there's not many. He's one of those singers that doesn't take out his voice, just because his voice is unbelievable. Doesn't do much on stage. Like, you know, he walks back and forth, he interacts with the crowd, and you can't take your eyes off him.
Yeah.
That is something so special to me, because he's not trying to steal the spotlight, but he's stealing the spotlight, and he's not doing anything. He's just singing, but he has this, like you would say, this aura, this vibe around him. That he's got this, like, swagger. He's like, I don't know. There was something about him that really drew me to, and I'm a singer too, so I mean, I'm always attracted to watching singers anyway, but there's something about a singer that doesn't really do much. Take out the performance, take out the vocal performance. There's something about a guy that just is standing on stage and you can't take your eyes off him, because there are singers that will jump through hoops and you're like, okay, cool, that was cool. Right. And then there's other guys that you're like, you know, there's guys that you're just like, man, I can't take my eyes off him. Like, he just has this vibe about him.
Yeah, listen, I'm a huge KK fan, and I was struggling. I was going from KK to Ripper, KK to Ripper, you know, back and forth, because they weren't on the same side all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, this is taxing. For whatever it is, he's a guy that replaced Halford. And
right.
Listen, in my opinion, he didn't fall short. There's, you know what I'm saying? You could say whatever you want. Priest made a major change at that time too. Their sound, their feel, their look. Ripper was that perfect individual for that change.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He did 2 studio albums. I know there's a live album that he did with him, because I have it autographed and hanging on my wall with Priest. I don't know if there was a couple others that were released or not, but he did a tremendous job, and he was able to do something that I think, in a sense, as a, you know, maybe besides what Sammy Hagar did with Van Halen, there's no other singer that is talked about as much as a replacement singer than Ripper Owens. Right?
I completely agree.
Blaze Bayley isn't even given anything, you know, and I think Blaze Bayley's I've opened for Blaze. I've met him. He's a great guy. He puts on a good show. He's a little more theatrical in a sense. Mm-hmm. And like I've said before, people can complain all they want, but Steve Harris felt that he was the guy to have. So if Steve Harris has been the core of Maiden all these years, why would you complain about it? It just...
Right.
So, you know, that's a whole nother thing. The Blaze Bayley type of era is kind of pushed under the rug. But anyway, besides Sammy Hagar and Ripper Owens, who's another singer that jumped onto an iconic band and was able to hold their own?
Yeah, I agree, dude. I totally agree. I mean, you know, you kind of could talk about the dude from Journey. I mean, they've had 2 guys since Steve Perry, but everybody kind of goes, oh yeah, that guy from Journey. Like, they
go that little guy from Journey, and he's an amazing singer. Listen,
a great singer, dude. You know. Amazing. I mean, listen, you have to replace
Steve Perry.
Like, the 2 guys, you know, the 2 guys they had were really, really good. But you're right, dude. There's really not a lot of singers that, you know, hold that rank. There's really not.
And to achieve what they've achieved, and going back to what you said, Ripper has come full circle. Like, he's where he should be. Yeah. Because he's more than capable. And that was inspiring. To me, that was inspiring.
It really was.
You could see it. It was like, oh, this is amazing. And live, oh man. If you're going to go see KK's Priest, it's just live, it's 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it really was. It really, truly was.
And like you said, amazing band. I mean, tight. The sound was incredible. It was crystal clear. It wasn't screaming in your ears like in pain.
No,
it was so enjoyable. It really was.
So perfect.
Oh. And to me, seeing that show has been equally inspiring given what I've been dealing with the last 9 months or so.
Yeah,
And
agree.
To reiterate, to kind of restore my faith, and when I said to you, that was probably my admission to myself, and I had to verbally say it to somebody, and I knew you would understand it when I said, this is why we do what we do. Because there's been a lot of questioning. It's like, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
It's only getting worse. It's only getting worse, man. It's like kind of running into the wall over and over and over again. But maybe you got to do that a little bit to knock some sense into you and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to go about this a whole different way. So it's kind of where we're at. I mean, this was a season recap show, and where we've gone, our personal artistic transformation, our career transformation, I think it's been a positive thing. So I hope somebody got something out of it.
Yeah, man. I think that was definitely one thing we could take out of this season was it was inspiring because we, like I had said earlier, we were both going through some major things in our careers. And as the season has progressed, if you listen to the shows and you listen to our little daily recaps at the beginning of the shows, you could hear that have kind of come out of that. Maybe not 100%, but we're on the upswing, right? Like, when we started the season, things were bizarre. Yeah, it was bizarre.
Somebody pushed me off the swing and I was face down in the mud.
But as the season's going on and you listen to our daily conversations in the beginning of the show about what's going on in our lives at that time, you hear that we've made some progression through the season. And then obviously with seeing, just talking about KK's Priest, like, the inspiration has come out of this season from beginning to end is a really cool thing.
I agree 100%. I'm very excited about what's ahead of me. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's 100%. You know that.
No.
And especially in this business, Murphy's Law is always one. And then everything else after that is a blessing, is a positive, right? Sometimes just getting to the show is about the only positive that you could take out of things. But I am enthusiastic about it. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to talking about it more when we get to season 7. I really am. I thank everybody for listening. I thank you, brother, for constantly being here, for supporting this, and for helping me through the things that I'm going through and giving me a soundboard to talk about it, because it's oftentimes tough, because like we talked about at the beginning of the season, sometimes you feel like you're alone, but when you get to talk to another musician who's being honest with you, like, listen, this is how it is. It's not a big ego thing, like, I'm this, I'm that. It's not, dude. Look, we're all the same, right? I mean, we're all playing the same joint. Like I said,
exactly.
We're all in the same boat in a way. Some of us have oars, some of us don't. Some of us have bigger oars. Some of us are at the front of the boat and we're getting splashed. Some of us are in the back and we're trying to take that water and take it out. We all have our job to do. If we work more together with one another, that job will get a lot easier. And like we talked about, it really is up to the artists and musicians themselves to make those changes so those changes become more normal to everybody else, rather than us being dictated to, which is quite often the case. But we do have a power, because without us, there's nobody to play. So we need to keep that in mind. But again, I thank everybody for listening, buddy. I thank you as well, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to season 7.
Me too, man. And while we're wrapping this up, I need to say the same thing to you. Like, thank you you've been a constant inspiration in my life and career. You and you guys have gone through the gamut. I feel like you have had so many things thrown at you and you've pretty much annihilated everyone. Like, and we talked about it before. The big thing about that comment is, say what you want, but you were told that you couldn't do this, you couldn't book this European trip, you couldn't do it in such a short amount of time, man. And you proved everybody wrong, and you guys did it, man. And that's not an easy task. I know you worked your ass off to do it. It's super, super inspiring, and you've been an inspiration in my life and career for sure, because you've literally, every hurdle that's thrown at you, you've always rose above it, and you guys just get better. You know, that new EP is unbelievable. Some of the best stuff you guys have had. Well, I really like the last record too, but this EP is definitely something that you guys should be super, super proud of.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. We are. Listen, we come from a time where you had no choice. You had to do something. I'm not wearing that like a chip on my shoulder. It's just kind of where I'm at. That attitude has gotten me good stuff, but it's also gotten me in trouble at times too.
Sure.
And it's been a source of, unfortunately, having to sacrifice things or having relationship problems or, you know, making things more difficult than they should be because, I don't know, you get tunnel vision or whatever. But, you know, as I get older, things get better and better. You know how it is. We're just...
I do.
You know, when you're young and, you know, whatever. But the passion sometimes, and that's what I feel that people take advantage of in the artists or musicians, that they know that passion burns so much. And then you have those guys that want to expose it or take advantage of it or, you know, for their own gain. That's why I think that the artists and the musicians need to be the ones to change the model, and things will get better. Things will get better. You just got to believe, and you got to keep working to it. You got anything else you want to add, my brother?
No, brother, that is it. Congratulations on season 6, man. I'm looking forward to 7, and I'm also looking forward to the new show that's going to be a couple episodes for the summer.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Another season in the books. We wouldn't do it if people weren't listening, so thank you very much. If you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmic Verse and fill that void. Before you know it, Season 7 will be here. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmic Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmicvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmic Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.